It's been a while, but we are back for another week of Overwatch League. So, week number 24. It's really getting down to the wire now. If we look at the standings really quick, there's some teams that with the bonus, the bonus victories from the tournaments and whatnot, that are almost done. Shanghai 20-2, Philly 17-2. Charge have now played. Well, they haven't actually played, but they have 22 games now. That's sitting at 16-6. So, there's a lot of teams that are going to be playing a lot, like Vancouver, Dallas, and the like. Gladiators, they're only at 12, and there's some other ones that are just at 13. So, yeah, we're going to have a lot of fill-ins for the next couple of weeks, but, should be a lot of games, so it should be fun. This is kind of it. Honestly, I think besides, Hunters, Justice, and Boston, they're done. Put a fork in them. It's over. They're not getting in. But other than that, Vancouver, Dallas, Toronto, Houston, they're all down, but they're definitely not out. One hot streak of 4 or 5 games puts them right up there. So, we should have a super exciting end to the season. And we got a lot of matches this week. Starting with tomorrow, we get a couple of Friday matches, as you can see in the afternoon. So that's pretty cool. Always nice to see them get a little bit of variation when they can. Get more viewers that might not have chances to watch on the weekend, but maybe could on a Friday. So without further ado, we are going to get right into predictions. Starting with Toronto, good lord. The other Canada team, Vancouver Titans taking on Paris Eternal. So, Paris coming off of their Summer Showdown victory, huge win. Vancouver did lose to Paris in the quarterfinals in their first matchup, but they were the number 4 seed after getting a couple of victories. So, like I said, for Paris, they're in good shape. Remember, if you win the Summer Showdown, you get the 3 bonus victories. So they vaulted themselves right up there into the top 8 with their victory. So things looking up for them. Vancouver desperately needs match wins. Of course, they did get their first couple with the new roster. That being said, Paris definitely stronger team here. I don't see any real areas where Vancouver has a decided advantage. Obviously, they're going to have to focus on shutting down Sparkle. But like other people have said, I love Paris's ability to rotate things in and out. To bring in the French duo of Nico and Soon and do really well on some control maps with the Mei and the Reaper is a really nice thing to have in their pocket. And then, of course, you have Xe and Sparkle who can just go nuts. Not really many marketed weaknesses here for Paris. As I was saying in my recap of the Summer Showdown, FD God might have a couple of issues on the Brigida. I've seen him make some plays where it's kind of like, but I don't think that's enough for Vancouver to come in here and win. I think Paris has all the momentum right now. They're going to be feeling really good. Their comms are going to be crisp. People are going to be upbeat. And while I think Vancouver is in a good mental spot right now, I just don't think mechanically they can take down Paris right now. I think they'll steal a map, but in the end, it's Paris taking it 3-1. The other Friday match is another rematch of the Battle for Texas. So I feel like whenever I go with one of the teams in this match, they always lose. I'm just like cursing them. I feel like Houston has looked a little bit better lately. They got that really nice Summer Showdown victory against the Mayhem. But then went down after that. Couldn't quite get it done against Philly. Dallas looking a bit rough as well. They did lose to Paris. They did take a map, so there's no real shame in that. But Dallas has struggled with winning just regular season matches as well. So, Dallas sitting at 5-8, Houston sitting at 6-11. This is a very, very, very important matchup for both of them. I'm gonna go with Dallas here. I feel like Houston is a better team, but I feel like they always just make a couple of mistakes, particularly against Dallas. The really close maps just seem to go to Fuel. Outlaws seem to just let them slip away at times. And with this matchup, we do see a lot of close maps. So It's super competitive. I don't think any maps will be a blowout. I think Houston could honestly blow Dallas out here. Like I said, I feel like they've just played better Overwatch, better team, better team play, more carry moments. But I don't think this one is one-sided. I think it's a slug it out. Like I said, rivalry games in any sport, they're a little bit different. It's a different feel. And in close games, I just don't trust Houston yet. I need to see them win a couple in a row. Do I trust Dallas? No. But do I trust them more than the Outlaws at this moment? Yes. So I will go with them. I feel like their DPS rotation is starting to solidify a little bit. We might see a little bit of benefit, to running Oni God exclusively before. I think they should be able to have a pretty clear picture of their hero pools and be able to use them effectively on the maps that they're good on. Know when to use Doha and Decay, know when to use Decay and Oni God, or if you want Oni God and Doha. You need to know which maps to do them on, which comps are best on maps, and I trust that Dallas can do that because they've had the sample size now. Then going to the APAC region, we got the Hangzhou Spark taking on Seoul Dynasty. So Spark looked really good with their additions. QOQ and Architect, coming in, looked like they made a real difference. And then it was kind of back to the struggle bus. I think it's just mainly communication things. When you look up and down this roster, there really isn't like a clear weak link. They have a ton of good players. I think Architect has been slept on for all of the years he's been in the league. Ever since season 1, like he came in and when he could play for the Shock, he was nuts. He was their best player that season in my eyes. Him and Sleepy for sure were the standouts. But again, he hasn't quite melted in with the Spark yet. Genji meta, it's a great meta for him. I think Genji is probably his best hero. Other than that, the Pharah, the Widowmaker are other top ones for him. But it should be a really nice meta for them. Godsby is great. Gushue, he was a candidate for MVP last season, so he's a great player. QOQ has looked great on Sigma overall. I really like the support line as well. We've been doing a little bit of rotation, but I like IDK and Mika and Bebe. I do enjoy them all. So it's a team that really doesn't have decided weaknesses. I think it's more of a communication and a just playing together and familiarity kind of thing for them. And then we got Seoul. They're up, they're down. They play stupid comps, then they look great, then they just throw maps. I've said it all season long. You guys don't need to hear it again. I'm gonna go with Hangzhou here. I think they've had a while, to kind of meld together now. They should be able to should have gotten a lot of practice in, get a little bit of a mental reset from their last couple of matches, and I think they get it done. I think Seoul has one of their kind of slow matches, and Spark end up taking it 3-1. Then we got Guangzhou, who are on fire, have not lost since the May Melee, just rolling people over, taking on London Spitfire. I think London puts up a decent fight here, but Charge are too much. They did acquire Crystal, formerly a Spark player. This was surprising to me. He had a lot of behavioral issues, caused a lot of issues within the team for the Spark. Apparently, still owes multiple people a bunch of money. So it's interesting that they brought him in. Somebody with from everything I've heard, honestly, it's been so long. I barely watched him when he was in Contenders. I barely even remember like what he did, what he played, how good he was, but people are really high on him. So maybe he'll make an appearance at some point. Eileen and Happy is already a very deadly duo, and they of course have Nero waiting on the bench as well. So new acquisition or not, Charge are the better team here. They're the right now. They're the top dog in the APAC region. I think they get this one done. I see it being a 3-0. I think London will probably keep a couple of maps close, but in the end, Charge are too much. Then we got Chengdu, who has just looked dreadful lately. They're on something like, I think they've lost 8 or 9 of their last match. I think they're 1-9 in their last 10 matches. It's pretty brutal, sitting at 4-14 on the season. New York coming off, they got one victory. They took down Spark in the Summer Showdown before falling to the Charge. Again, New York is another team where it's like, okay, there's no weaknesses when you look at this team. There's just no weaknesses on paper. They've underperformed a little bit, still trying to completely figure out a lineup. We've seen a lot of Nene and Haxall recently. Sabiobi Haxall would be my comp of choice. But if you're going for like the long range hit scan, I can see why they have Nene in. I just don't know why they're running the Tracer Genji and then not having Sabiobi in as well. A little bit weird. But New York definitely good enough to take down Hunters here. I have no faith in Hunters. They're in my tier of I don't pick them unless I have a really good feeling about their matchup or I see them play a lot better. So we're going with New York here. I think it's a 3-0. Again, Chengdu just really struggling. Don't think this is really the meta for them. I don't think they have that many metas that work for them, to be honest. So New York gets it done pretty quickly. Then we got Vancouver back in action. Like I said, we're going to be seeing this a lot because they have 16 matches to play before they hit their 28. So, Gladiators, they have 16 to go as well. So, opening up here against the Titans. Oh, boy. I mean, which Gladiators do we see? Do we see the one that just got rolled by Justice? Or do we see the one that is at least a mid-tier team? That's actually like a pretty good team. I don't know. Besides Space, I've been really disappointed with everybody. I feel like OGE's in another one of those slumps that he gets into. I feel like the backline of Shaz and Big Goose is having their weakest season by far in the league. I think that you see that when Big Goose isn't on the Lucio, he's had some really bruh moments on Brigida where he just feeds really badly. And we've seen Shaz, if he's on the Ana, just kind of get bullied at times. Just completely bullied. I think he's struggled a bit when he's not on that Zen. And obviously Zen not amazing right now. I think that he's also struggled a bit on Batiste, and that's one of their main issues. I think their DPS have played well, and Space has been great. Space is... I feel bad for Space, I really think he deserves more this season. Kepster has shown some flashes. Hopefully now that he's had more and more matches, hopefully he starts to really pop off now. And him and Birdring can really start clicking together. But I don't know. Vancouver's been looking pretty solid. I'll go with the Gladiators. I'll hold out faith. I'll try to wipe that Justice match out of my memory because they got pulverized. But yeah, I still think they're a better team overall, even with Vancouver's improvements. Their talent level is just way higher. I'll take them 3-1, but man, am I trepidatious about it. Also, we got Washington Justice facing off against Toronto Defiant. So, again, two teams showed market improvement in the Summer Showdown. Toronto obviously made it all the way to the semifinals. They took down the Valiant, as well as the Atlanta Reign. So, looking a lot better for them. Getting Agilities back on that Genji pick has worked wonders. I would really, really like to see them try Surefour in if they're going to play the Genji Ashe instead of Logic's. Logic's hit scan is great, but I feel like his Ashe, particularly in their last couple of matchups, left a lot to be desired. I think he's more of the Tracer Widow guy. And Surefour has played a ton of Ashe recently, so I would like to see them run him and Agilities together and see what happens there. Justice looked solid playing around, Tuba on the Genji. It's definitely the best that Tuba has looked in his OWL career. So, again, I think this one could go either way. I'm going to go with Toronto. I like their backline a little bit more, even though I would give Washington a decided advantage in terms of tanks, just because of Janu. I think, to be quite honest, I think of the four tanks combined for the two teams, I think there's 3 weak tank players and then Janu. Nevix and Numlocked have looked weak to me all season, and Beast, when he was in, he looked weak as well. And I think that Roar is just a very weak tank, to be perfectly honest, after watching him for 2 seasons. But, there is Janu. But, like I said, in the end, I trust Toronto's DPS and backline a little bit more. I think they're gonna go with that same good mojo that they had going on in the Summer Showdown. They're gonna get a tight victory here. I'll say it goes to 5. Speaking of tight matches, this is not going to be one of them. San Francisco Shock, Boston Uprising. Man, I was starting to pound the Boston drum. I was starting to feel them. You know, Punk's in. They get a match win. They're playing close in a lot of their matches. They look a lot better. Color Hex seems to be coming into his own a little bit. You know, Jerry the Legend back at it. And then the last couple of matches before the Summer Showdown, they just kind of melted down completely and then lost to Justice and didn't even make the Summer Showdown. So I was restored like 1% faith in them, and then they just immediately took it away. They said, no, we don't do that here. So yeah, this is a roll. San Francisco 3-0. I'll be interested to see what lineup the Shock run. We've been hearing some stories about potential burnout in the Shock in the Shock lineup. So who knows? Maybe they'll switch up their lineup a little bit, take a couple of guys out. They certainly have the bench, to substitute people in. Whatever the case, it's still going to be more than enough to trounce the Uprising. This is a 3-0. And then we got two teams who exited very early in the Summer Showdown. We had LA Valiant, of course, getting upset by Toronto. The infamous words of Packing 10. Pick Toronto just because we think they're bad. And then they lost. And at the time, I was totally with Packing 10. I was like, they're bad. Like, they're 11th. They finished 11th in the standings leading up, to the Summer Showdown. Valiant have definitely been better than them this season. But, man, whenever people say that, it seems like it just comes back to bite you. So, they got a little bit of comeuppance. Apparently, something's going on with the team. There were some rumors about Lastro that have apparently been proven false about like toxicity. So I won't say that that's true. Heard from multiple people that was not the case. But as you guys know, if you watched, Lastro and Dreamer were out of the lineup. Gig and Apply were in, and it looked pretty rough. I think Valiant is better than Reign if they run their old lineup that was working really well. But which Valiant do we see here? Because if they put Gig and Apply out there again on the Orisa and the Brig, it didn't look good. I'll just say that it did not look good. And then which Reign do we see? They then went and lost, albeit in a 5-game set, but they lost. They again lost to fucking Toronto, who was 11, who just kept losing their matches. I need to know what the lineups are going to be. Like, I want to know who's getting in there because it's looked pretty rough at spots for both these teams. I think I'll go with Atlanta just because I'm concerned that there's something happening in the Valiant team. Otherwise, why would you run a lineup like that in a tournament? You're the 5 seed, you've looked really good, and then they just fall flat on their face. At least Atlanta played it close. So I'll go with Reign here. I'll say 3-1, but this is I will definitely be keeping my eye on this matchup to see which players play, and the players that do play, how are they going to perform together? And then we got Paris Eternal taking on Toronto Defiant. I'm going to go with Paris here. In spite of the improvements from Toronto, like I said, Paris looking great. I think they have a really good rotation. I like that they can swap between No Smite and Ben Best. Obviously, if they want to run the double shields, you're going Ben Best. If they want to run something more divey, then you can bring in No Smite to play that Winston. So I really like their team. I think they're starting to really hit their stride, and we're seeing the payoff that some people had for them in the preseason. Because people were like, "Oh man." When they signed Sparkle and Xe, people were like, "Okay, this could be a squad," and boy, it has been. Fielder has come out of nowhere and played really well. FD God's been amazing on Lucio. So I got Paris taking this one. I'm gonna say it's a 3-0. Toronto, a lot of times when they're outmatched, they go down pretty quickly. Another very interesting one coming up. We got Atlanta versus Florida. So Florida was kind of the darling of the league for a little bit. And then the last couple of matches haven't gone so well for them. Only seeded 7th in the Summer Showdown and lost immediately to the Outlaws, of course. So looking a little bit shaky over there. I am going to go with Florida here, though. They've matched up well against Atlanta in the past, going back to the May Melee. I think that they're going to have a bit of a better grip on what to run here. I feel like their style has gotten a little bit stale, but they have good coaching. They have really good players. You know, Gargoyle, Yaki, absolutely tremendous players. So I think they do bounce back and get a victory here. It's going to be a telling match, though. This is a telling match for both these teams. They're both floating in that like 5 to 8 range, maybe in NA. We got a lot of matchups in NA that are really like, this team, they look like they're like 4th best at times, and other times they're like all the way at like 9th. So I think we're going to see a lot of shuffling around in the mid tier of the NA region. But in the end, like I said, I'm going to go with Florida taking this one 3-1. And then we have Boston going up against LA Valiant. Despite the issues, I am going to take Valiant here. Definitely the safer pick. Like I said, until Boston looks markedly better, beats somebody, gets a good early read on a meta, or does something crazy, I'm not picking them. So, weird lineup or not, I got the Valiant taking that one. I'll give Boston a map, though, here. Let's say 3-1. So, those are the matchups for week number 24. As I said, things are about to get crazy. They announced the format of the overall playoffs. So they're going to be playing it similarly to the Summer Showdown and May Melee, where they're going to be split into 2. But then when we get the overall number 1 and number 2 in each region, then they are going to go on to a special playoff, where NA number 1 will play APAC number 2, and number 1 APAC will play number 2 NA in the semis, and then obviously winners go to the finals. So gonna be super fun to watch. Like I said, there's still a ton of teams that could drop in and out of the standings. Right now you got teams like Atlanta, Hanzhou, and Gladiators just teetering on the edge. You got Spitfire, Outlaws, Defiant, and Fuel kind of chasing. Another couple teams like Florida and LA Valiant, who have struggled a little bit recently. Maybe they could drop a lot, if they get on a big losing streak. I would say the top 6 is looking pretty freaking locked in. Florida, with their record, is looking really good as well. But you never know. And definitely like that, the play-in, I legitimately think that number 8 through number 17, it could get really interesting. In the coming weeks, we're going to see a couple of these teams towards the bottom, Defiant, Outlaws, Spitfire, Fuel, like a couple of these teams are going to lose a few matches in a row, and then they're going to be done. And a couple of them are going to win a few in a row, and all of a sudden it gets really interesting. So I'm super hyped for it. As always, thank you guys for watching. Good luck to your teams, whoever you're cheering for. Hopefully they're in contention, or if they're not, they can at least show some improvements. Sorry, Justice fans and Chengdu fans, you've had it rough these couple years, and Boston fans, since season 1, you've had it pretty rough. But that'll do it for the video. Leave a comment down below if you got any bold predictions, any agreements, disagreements that you would like to voice. But other than that, I appreciate you guys watching very much. I hope you have an awesome couple of days, and then I'll see you in the next one.